Hi guys, welcome to Social Anxiety Inside Out session number 27. And our special guest this week is Anthony Davis of Head Stuff. And I met Anthony, I think about a couple of months ago, and we've had some really great conversations about mindset and coaching and, you know, social anxiety and other things. And Anthony doesn't really see himself as a coach, but he helps people not with the kind of technical side of skiing, but more of the mindset side. So once you get the mindset side right, then you can do the technical side a lot more efficiently. And he also does sometimes one-to-one coaching, or he loves supporting businesses. And I think he said to me once he likes, the messier the better. He's really got a knack for, reorganizing businesses which are in turmoil, basically. And he's a very bright guy, very insightful guy, and it's a pleasure to have him here today. I'm talking about him like he's not here, so welcome, Anthony. Thanks for coming along today.
Hi, Steve. Thank you. It's kind of weird. I've never heard somebody describe me or introduce me for a long, long time. So thank you for your kind words. It's lovely.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. So I just wanted to start things off, going a bit into your, talk a bit about your earlier years, and what you told me. It was really moving about the kind of tough times you had when you were younger. Is it okay if you talk a bit about that?
I'm more than happy to talk about that. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, the thing you posted kind of as an introduction on, I was bullied my early years, from the age of 7, primary school, all the way through till 16, and I was kind of sounding like really introverted, painfully shy, kind of really. I just felt like a complete outsider, like an alien from a different planet. I just couldn't. I'm functionally fine, I bright kid, did well at school, but I just got picked on, and it was like I'd know, and I didn't tell my parents probably until I was in my 30s. That was the case, because I thought, well, it's my stuff. I need to sort it out. And the best thing I can do is the strategy that I came up with was just kind of keep away from those people who picked on me, because and it just kind of reinforced that, well, I must be different. I must be a bit weird. I suppose I don't like, so becoming a bit of a recluse, kind of I suppose exacerbated that. I just kind of increased my weirdness, my aloofness, kind of, and I hung out with a bunch of geeky people, and had a few friends, and it certainly my years when my father was a teacher at the same school I was at, and it was a bit like being on report every single day. Everybody thought that because I was a teacher's son, that I got a much easier ride through school, and it's like the opposite was true. And I tended to hang out with other teachers' kids, and we all had the same thing. Everybody thought we got a free ride, and the opposite, because every time the teachers met up in the staff room at break and lunchtime, I kind of get a school report. So on the way home, it's like, okay, Mrs. So-and-so said you were playing up in class today. Oh, okay, fair enough. It was always that apprehension. It's like, okay, what am I going to be told off about today on the way home? My dad's driving us home. So, but it was only until I was about 16, I went into the sixth form, that the kids who kind of picked on me, they kind of disappeared. It was kind of, oh, this is much better. I'm hanging out with, we're doing A levels, so it's like I'm hanging out with the smarter kids. I'm hanging out with the kids who kind of planning to go off to university. Because I lived up in Cumbria, kind of a remote rural area, and the kind of you either worked locally and went off to Sellafield to work there, or you went off to university. So my choice was to go off to university. But I kind of threw myself into stuff to, I suppose, like I have to do something because to kind of socialize myself. So when I was 16, they needed a chairman for we had a sixth form committee. So I put my hand, said, I'll be the chairman, and it's like, why am I doing this? It's like, but my hand crept up. So, and then when I went off to university, I did the same thing again. At the Freshers' Fair, I'd spent probably since 7 years old, I'd been dinghy racing, and I was kind of really into sailing, so I joined the sailing club. Again, they needed a new Commodore to run the sailing club at the university. So I put my hand up and thought, this will be a good thing to kind of throw myself out of it. If I throw myself into a leadership role, then I would kind of like break out of it, the kind of shyness. Didn't really work. It kind of almost made it worse because it kind of polarized it. People thought, I'm kind of an active, sociable person, but inside I was going like, oh my God, just don't ask me any questions. I'm going to stay away from this. Oh, this is terrible. And I've kind of done that for quite some years. It's like, if I throw myself into a role, we're looking for a representative of something. Oh, okay, I'll do that because it'll break me out of it, and it doesn't work. I suppose at some point it kind of rubs off. I suppose the fake it till you make it. I never really thought I or felt that I'd actually made it. But it's kind of funny that people have a different perspective on me than who I think I am. So to hear your words right at the start, it's like, who's the guy he's talking about? Who is that guy? He sounds great. So I've kind of grown, I suppose, a lot more comfortable. It's I still occasionally feel like an alien from a foreign planet, but I actually quite like that. I was doing my MBA a few years ago, and I studied with the Open University. They'd do a series of modules, and I was doing a creativity, innovation, and change module, and we had to do psychometric tests. And oh God, what was one of them? Anyway, I was doing one of them. And average was the average population was 100. That was the mean score for a normal person. And a friend of mine, before he did the test, he said, if you come out normal, you'd be really upset, wouldn't you? And I went, yeah, I really would. Unfortunately, I came out on the high end of the scale. I thought, phew, that's okay. I am a bit weird. That's okay. I have a number to prove it. But I kind of got more comfortable with and people find it really easy. Just the perspective I have. It does feel like an alien perspective, but it seems to work. It does actually make life easier, complicated at times, but easier. But yeah, I suppose I'm just kind of over time growing more and more into my skin. I think it was I read in Michael Neill's book, Inside Out, Understanding One, that it kind of really hit me hard. He said we're not spiritual beings having a human experience. No, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And I went, God, that's it. I'm having a human experience. Oh, okay, and it kind of really took the pressure off. That was all.
So how long ago was that when you read Michael's book again? Was that the first?
That was about a year ago when it came out, pretty much hot off the press.
Okay, so was that your first introduction to the Inside Out Understanding or the Three Principles then?
No, that was in January 2011.
Oh, okay.
I signed up to do signed up with Jamie Smart to do his mastermind group, join his mastermind group. And I turned up at the end of January, I think it was, for the first weekend, and these people were talking about Sid Banks, and I had no idea what. So my natural reaction at that point is, I will sit down very quietly, open my notebook, and please stay away from people like until I understand what's going on. So these people who obviously knew each other and hung around for a while, I sat down in this circle of empty chairs. I'll just sit here quietly, and people don't ask me any questions because I've no idea what you're talking about until I get the measure of it. And then kind of chatting to people in breaks, and then I think came the April time. I still really wasn't getting and understanding what was going on. And Jamie was running a retreat out to St. Lucia, and I thought, well, I just a kind of 4-year stint in consultancy, and I'd finished at the end of March, and I thought, that's it. I don't know what's going to do next. I thought, going for a retreat. So I left the UK on the 5th of April, 2011 for a hang out with Jamie for a week or so, and I had the kind of most. I read the missing link on the plane going over from Sid Banks, and it took me probably 10 minutes to scan through it. Like, I've no idea what this is all about. It's just words and meaningless. Yeah, whatever. And I kind of really just arrived, and I slowed down. And the kind of the retreat bit in the middle was 5 days, and I was out in St. Lucia for 12 days. And I can't describe the experience, but I've heard other people kind of describe similar experiences that I just felt kind of really at peace. And I couldn't, and I still struggle that I couldn't describe what was going on. And somebody who kind of can get very intellectual, I just did not have the words, and it kind of got really funny because over the days, I couldn't talk about what was going on. I just literally was speechless. I couldn't. I had a real felt sense of something, but words, and even now I still can't describe it. And it got to the kind of the end of the retreat bit, and we kind of stood up in front of the rest of the group and said how the experience was. And by this time, as I said, it was a bit of a joke because they were all like, "What's Anthony going to say?" Because it's like I couldn't say anything, and one of the things I do, and I've never really realised it until people pointed out recently, is that I model, to kind of gain an understanding of something, I create a model of it. It's like when I work with somebody's business, I create a model of how their business could work, incredibly elegant. It's like, what is the essential stuff, what is the simplicity of this? So I kind of, in the experience I had, I just took the pen on the flip chart and said, okay, I can talk about this, but I can draw a model, and that would be it. So it was a standard like 2x2 matrix diagram. I'll send you a copy of it because I can't remember what it was, but it just explained to me that how we just perform so much better when we have much less on our mind. And the stuff that we tend to do is when we get more in our minds to try and create a shift or a different feeling, it just so gets in the way. It just postpones it. And it was, so that was kind of my epiphany moment, if I could describe one. And it was it was just a real felt sense. The funny thing is when I came back, people around me say, "Oh, what you've been into St. Lucia? What a beautiful place!" It was like, yeah. And they said, "So what did you learn?" And of course, I open my mouth, nothing comes out. And they're going, "So what did you learn?" And so I spoke to Jamie. He said, "Just give it 30 days." So I told people, "Okay, can you just give me 30 days, and I should be in a better position to talk about what went on or what I experienced." And 30 days. The 30 days came up. So friends came around. Said, "What did you learn? What you went?" And I was like, "I'm sorry." And even now, I still can't really describe it. But I have It was like something inside me just resolved itself. It was like coming home. It was like a lot of stuff in my life just made a lot of sense. And all the kind of thinking about stuff, the analytical stuff, kind of faded away. I no longer had to search for a meaning out of stuff. It just actually didn't make any sense to do so. It was because I've always kind of sought simplicity. When I was 14 years old, my maths teacher, Mrs. McIntosh, said to me, because I got accused of being lazy, because it didn't actually take me much effort to do something to get like in maths or whatever. So she said to me, and it still profoundly sticks with me, she said the best mathematicians are the laziest ones because they find the easiest way to do something. And it really struck me, and it still sits with me now, that, oh, okay, I just find really easy and simple ways to do things. I probably spend a lot of time doing that, but it's like, I suppose my thing is there must be a really simple, easy way to do something. What is the absolute essence of something? What is really going on? Not what people think is going on, but what is actually going on. So if we just paid attention to that, everything else would take care of itself. So I suppose stumbling across the principles, it was the biggest point of leverage because, well, this is the simplest thing, isn't it? Wow, this is incredibly simple. Wow, and it kind of explains the human experience, and things flow from that. It's like, that makes perfect sense. I knew there was something. I've stumbled across it. Wow, this is cool. So it kind of, I mean, if you look at my website, I don't talk about principles, and if you have conversations with me, I will not talk about the principles because it's like, that just exists. We don't have to discuss it because we can't take it apart. We don't have the language to describe it because I have that felt sense of, and I just don't have the language to describe that. Okay, but I have a really strong felt sense of the experience. So it's like when I talk to people in business or projects or something that somebody wants to do, it's like, what is the absolute essence? What is the simplest thing? If we did just that, everything else would take care of itself. And you mentioned skiing, so I've been playing around with skiing for about 7, 8 years, 6 years, snowboarding for about 10 years. So I have a model of snowboarding, thanks to my NLP skills, actually modeling and extracting information from people and testing things out, that I can teach. I suppose, get across the basics of snowboarding in about 20 minutes. Because it's like, if you just do this is the movement of snowboarding, this is how the board turns, this is what you do. There's some things in your current life that you've experienced that you can bring across. There's some stuff that you just need to leave behind. But pretty much, 20 minutes, you'll have an experience of snowboarding. I mean, JB Spark came out a few years ago, and I said, can I test it out on you? And within 30 minutes, he was probably snowboarding like a pro. He looked good on the piste. He was very good. So with the ski things, I kind of developed that. It's like, what is the essence of skiing? Because we're so good at putting in step. We're kind of used to a linear process. So we create the steps, and it's kind of innocently we put something in the way of something, thinking it's going to be the next step. Which it's called, people call it progression or progressive models. We do the linear steps. And those kind of traditional approaches get traditional results. They're okay. You bounce, have a lot of thinking going on, a lot of pain, and whatever. But you think, okay, if I do the linear steps, you will get a kind of modicum of results. But I'm not interested in modicum. I'm not interested in mediocrity. I'm interested in exceptional. So I'm interested in the things that those people who don't fit that model, those people who kind of seem to jump the steps, they miss out on them. I did with my skiing. I put on a pair of skis. My brother said to me, well, skiing's just about turning, so here's how you turn. Okay. And I picked up a pair of skis and started turning, skiing parallel. and then 3 hours later, I kind of was running around red runs. I had spent 4 years snowboarding, 5 years snowboarding, so I had an understanding of snow, which did help, and a bit of balance thrown in. But skiing and snowboarding work the opposite to each other. You can't take one skills of turning a board into turning a pair of skis. So but then I started to think about it, and then my skiing went a bit messy. Because I then tried to intellectually understand what was going on without the tools to do it. But now I can help people out with their skiing. I had a friend out over the weekend. She was here a week ago, and she was stuck on the snowplow thing, which is it's the pizza shape and a pair of skis. You often see beginners, and it's the traditional taught thing. It's the first thing you're taught in a pair of skis. Except me, I didn't do it. Because it's one of those things that gets in the way, and I see people gripped hold of it and it doesn't work. It's a good stopping technique for slow speeds, like your handbrake is on the car, but it's not much use for anything else. But with her, in less than an hour, she was skiing beautiful parallel at speeds on speeds she'd never been on before, and having a really great time, which is the most important thing. And that would take the traditional method would actually take a week to do that, or several weeks to do that over several years or several holidays. And if you think the cost of a holiday is about £1,000, £1,500, that's a lot of money to kind of progress on the traditional methodology. So my interest is, can you get that down to a few hours? Can we get it down to even less? What is the essence? And I'm still refining it now.
So how would you apply that to coaching or helping others, see things that they don't necessarily see? Because I love something that I think Sid Banks said. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was saying, if a therapist says to you that you need therapy for 20 years, then it's going to take you 20 years to overcome your issues. And I see a lot of truth in that, because I was struggling for years and doing all these different things, and it seemed like I was running around in circles when I could have really taken a shortcut. And could you talk a bit more around that, and also, what you say about the 5% who kind of find their own way, and then all that kind of stuff? I found that really interesting.
Because we can intellectualize stuff, because we are smart people, we can get really clever about strategies and processes as if we think that's how it works. It's kind of funny because there's a guy called Mintzberg, a great, a brilliant guy on strategy. Highly recommend reading his stuff. And he talks about two types of strategy. One is the direct approach, which we think is, if we project it forward, it's a series of steps. If we do this, then we do that, then we do that, it'll lead to this thing, the thing that we want to achieve. Because we can, my first degree is strategic planning. I'm trained to think 20 years ahead at least. When I came out of university, I could think 20 years ahead, but if you asked me whether I wanted tea or coffee in the moment, I was screwed. But it's kind of worn off. I can actually do both at the same time, which is kind of cool. But he talks about a direct strategy, and that's how people think. If we plan and organize, and things will take place, so we tend to do that. However, there is nothing in our lives that I've ever come across, or anybody else has ever said or experienced, that life is actually like that. What happens is we kind of set ourselves an intention, a thing, And as we start to do stuff, that the strategy emerges. We might do some kind of basic planning, kind of setting things out, but the strategy, because it's chance conversations, it's happenstance, it's coincidence, it's opportunities just arriving. So the ability to see opportunities and do something about it is a huge skill. If you can see that, so with less on your mind, you will see those opportunities. You know, on a ski slope, having really awesome peripheral vision is fantastic because you can see people all around you and navigate around them. Whereas if you kind of had the tunnel vision, it's like, this is it, I'm going to go that route, that's it. Things come in, people come in, you can't see obstacles when you arise that you can't see. And you have to respond in the moment to that. Now, is that a problem or is it an opportunity? Is it something? So the strategy kind of emerges, but you'll, a bit like skiing down the piste, you'll know very quickly when you're going off piste. So you kind of like, I'll turn back on. So you then guide yourself back on to the kind of the route that you want to go. So if you have an open mind, and I describe as living in the world of possibilities, not probabilities. And if you have that open mind, and people talk about focus, and I loved reading Garrett Kramer's book Still Power, which I highly recommend. He says focus closes down opportunities, and you need opportunities. Any athlete needs to live in the realm of possibilities. They need to see what's going on around them so they can navigate the best route through whatever turns up and the best way forward. Whereas focus, you've just got blinkered vision. You miss all the opportunities. You miss all the stuff. It suddenly hits you sideways like, where did that come from? It's just because it's outside your peripheral vision. Outside your vision. So the strategy emerges, and it's why 80% of major IT projects around the world fail. Because you can plan, in a digital world of ones and zeros, yes, no's, we can plan, organize, but it doesn't happen like that. It's good to plan, but the plan, you need a certain flexibility in it. But equally, you need some robustness. So if something comes along, you then need to decide whether, do I need to respond to that, or do I just go, actually, no, that'll go away, or that's not significant. I'll just carry on because I'm going in the right trajectory that I'm putting myself in. So, but it is because we can plan and organize and strategize and think if we do this series of linked steps, we will achieve our goal or aim or objective or intention or whatever you wish to call it. Doesn't really work. It does. It's useful for things like organizing a conference. It's good, even a major IT project. It's good, and I do with my projects. I do a certain amount of project plan because I just have to communicate to people this is the track what we're going on. But my interest is in exceptional results, and I know that does not achieve exceptional results. It achieves traditional, mediocre, possibly predictable, but never exceptional. But if you help the people on my project teams I've worked with, it's they who make the project happen. It's they who make the business happen. So it's like they have just enough information to kind of go to the next thing, or within the kind of overall strategy of where we're going. But I want them to spot opportunities. I want them to think when things turn up, they'll go, that's okay, I'll just deal with it. So I've done projects when I say I ran an employment project created it and ran it in Peterborough. The whole project was put together in probably a month. We had 45 partners, and it's a 1.1 billion pound proposal, and it ran off to about 65 pages. That was less than 20 days to do that of work time. We then had to get it up and running. We were up and running within 6 weeks. Everybody else was taking months and months and months to do it. I said, no, we've got to do this and get up and running in 6 weeks, because if we get an approval, we need to hit the ground running to achieve what we said we'll achieve. So we did whatever necessary was for that, and the people I worked with were just amazing. When you kind of so this is what we're doing, they kind of come on board. If they have a lot of time to think about it, they'll kind of get stuck. It's like, no, this is it, and there's a kind of energy that goes with that. And I ran it for a couple of years, and so we're taking long-term young unemployed people, so 18 to 25-year-olds, off the dole, off the employment register into permanent employment through a scheme we put together. And traditionally, the best results, again, the 5% pops up. The best results for those long-term unemployed at the time were about 5%. About 5% of them would get jobs of their own volition. 95% wouldn't. And even with interventions going on at the time, it was still the 5%. My target was 80%. Because I thought, we're going to do this, we're going to do it really well. And my project team was going, no way, absolute no way. So they settled on 50%. So relating back to what you said about Sid Banks, if you think therapy is going to take 20 years, it'll take 20 years. So my project team settled on, not settled, it was a big target for them, on 50%, which is exactly what we achieved, which was 10 times better than anything else that was going on at the time, and pretty much is between 5 and 10 times better than anything else that's going on at the moment.
Wow, that's fantastic. So I just wanted to open it up to questions. If anyone's got any questions for Anthony, please could you email, go to the contact form below the video and send us your questions, or email directly socialanxietyinsideout@gmail.com. And while people are doing that, Anthony, so how do you see feelings of anxiety now? Because I know for a fact that you don't. Well, I don't know for a fact. I'm assuming that they. I don't know for a fact for sure, but how do you see it compared to when you were younger, when you were really in it, and really struggling? How is life for you now?
I still get pangs of shyness and, I suppose, anxiety, or feelings of anxiety, but I pay little or no attention to them, and they don't hang around for very long. It doesn't make sense to me anymore to start to it's a bit like confidence. People talk about, oh, I'll do that when I have more confidence. But it doesn't work that way around. It's a name we attribute to a feeling after the event. That it's just something. So so that must be stress. That must be anxiety. That must be confidence. So when I don't have anxiety, when I don't have stress, when I don't have confidence, I'll behave differently. It's like, no, they're just names that we attach to stuff, I guess, to a feeling state, but after the event. So we're feeling confident because our mind's cleared. You don't get confidence before something. It doesn't work that. So when people talk about, say, skiing, or I'd love to ski, but I'd have to be more confident. It's like, it doesn't work that way round. You'll do it, and then afterwards you might attribute a name to it, in which case you might describe it as confident, or you might describe it as fear, or you might describe it as anxiety or stress, or it's just something that we attached after the event. So a lot of those kind of words don't make any sense, because it's why would I want to attribute a name to a feeling? It doesn't help. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I do the same. I do exactly the same as that. I still experience it, and it still feels as painful sometimes as well. It's not like the way I imagined it to be confident all the time, but it doesn't have a hold on me. Like earlier today, I was overly stressing about something, and then rather than going into the whole judgment about it that I shouldn't be feeling that way, it kind of passed itself. And I like the analogy comparing it to weather, because good luck to anyone who tries to control the weather. It's never gonna yet anyway. I'm sure someone will figure it out, maybe not, but yeah, you can't really control the weather. And looking back at the times I got really caught up, I'd feel crap and then judge myself for feeling crap, and that would bring a whole load of thought along with it. So it's kind of, I just love the snow globe analogy because it's so simple. You're getting really, you're getting more and more stressed, and it doesn't matter what flavour of thinking it is. It could be anything, but you're shaking up the snow globe, and it's snow's everywhere, and you don't have to do anything for it to clear. You just put the snow globe down and it clears. And when people say that, a lot of people think that, does that mean I have to go and do something or go and meditate? And I guess you can do that, and I find that I can literally, well, not literally see, but I can get a really strong sense now that I'm creating my own anxiety and stress, and I have more choices in regards to it. How long that sticks around. It's not to say I can control when it comes and goes, because sometimes I just wake up feeling rubbish, and
yeah, me too.
It passes, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I guess you got to just really get on with it, haven't you? Because I used to dwell about it for long periods, and it just the clouds would stay there. It's like a British summer, isn't it, Anthony?
I don't know. I don't experience those anymore.
No, you don't, anyway. Well, you'll remember what they're like.
Yeah. But we can get really good at analysing stuff, but we're not really equipped to do that. It's said that I was out helping a friend to improve her skiing over the weekend, and she kind of would fall over occasionally and then say, well, what went wrong there? I said, you don't need to know, and it's not going to help. Get your skis back on, we'll carry on. And it's something like, again, Garrett Kramer points to, which I kind of get more and more, which he talks about staying in the game. When I mentioned kind of April 2011, I kind of finished my 4-year stint in consultancy. I thought, I'll do the next thing. And then I came across this do nothing. So that's what I have to do. Divine inspiration will kick in. So I kind of took a sabbatical. Like divine inspiration will kick in 3 months later. No, 6 months, maybe 12 months. No, like I need to do something here. Like, but okay, if I do something, I'll shake up the system. It's not right. And I just got so round and round with that, and I eventually, and it's probably kind of more recently so now, is like I just want to get on with stuff that I find fun. That was the kind of the cloud lifting for me was, is that fun to do? Okay, then I'll do it. Go and do some fun stuff. And I said earlier about I would kind of throw myself into positions of leadership as a strategy to kind of break out my shyness. It's like I do still throw myself into stuff, but it's like, is this fun to do? It's kind of a guiding principle of life. So where I live, we're now in the interseason. So the local pub quiz will start. I'm quizmaster, and I offered to help out. I was asked to help out, and now it's every other week, and I love doing it. I just thought of something when I was a kid. I suppose the ultimate strategy. When I was a kid, my family is very musical. My parents encouraged us all to learn musical instruments. So when it came to me choosing the musical instrument, my brother was playing the violin, and I thought, I don't want to be a violinist. There's lots and lots of violinists. What's the kind of pivotal role in the orchestra aside from the leader of the orchestra and the conductor? It's the oboe, because that's the single instrument that the entire orchestra tunes from. So I thought, I'm going to play the oboe. That would be, I'm the centre of attention now. That will break me out of my shyness. No, I met a lovely bunch of people. I did a great time in my childhood. I used to play at one point 5 orchestras because not many people played the oboe, so you're in demand. But it just occurred to me that was one of my. So those kind of strategies I don't do. Shall I kind of throw myself into this kind of fearful position as a way of shaking me out of doing something? So it's like, I don't do that. I'm much clearer now. It's like, actually, I don't want to do that. It doesn't fit. Is it fun? No, not right now anyway. It might be later. So I suppose that's a bit more of a guiding principle. But as I said about staying in the game, I really get it more so when people fall over on their skis. Just get back on the skis and start skiing. As soon as you stop to analyze it, you're just not equipped to do that. You might want to reflect on it some point later on when your kind of mind's quiet, but you don't want to deal with it there and then if you don't have to. And it doesn't help. Why would you want to take apart something that doesn't work when your interest is actually what does actually work? Okay, so I'll spend more time doing that then, because then I'll experience more of that. So with project teams, my teams, we kind of might get reflective on stuff, but it's like, okay, this is the problem that's turned up. We are where we are. What do we do to move on? You know, in therapy, whatever, you can talk about stuff, but you know that already. And if the answer came from that, you'd have it already. I have a phrase, it's I can't remember where I picked it up from, but a problem shared is a problem doubled. Just going to hang around a little bit longer.
Well, I guess it depends not how you share it, but I was talking with someone about this today, that if you know that, well, if you get some kind of understanding of the principles, or it doesn't have to be the principles, just a sense that you're more than you're thinking, and you understand moods, and you understand not really sure how to articulate it, but if you're sharing it in that way, you're basically sharing for insight, not for insight, but how do I articulate it? You know, if two people are kind of, you know, they're sharing what's going on, and one person's complaining, the other person is saying, yeah, I know, and it goes backwards and forth like that. And I think that can be kind of counterproductive. But if you're sharing to get things off of your chest in a way that you know that you could have fresh insights coming through at any moment, and you're just sharing for the sake of it. I don't know. I guess that's something I've seen, because I sometimes keep a lot of things in, but just by talking to someone about it, I'll have an insight about. I'll kind of answer my own problem just by talking about it, I suppose. Do you get what I mean?
I do, and I think it's Bill Patton. He talks about commiserating. If you kind of hang with somebody and you're commiserating, you're kind of not really helping them. That you just encouraging is a wrong story, because it's kind of innocent, but you're kind of, they're going to stay in that same place or get really good at it. Whereas if you kind of, okay, that is, what are we looking to move forward from this? Because you know what you know, and no amount of digging deep into that, tearing it apart, looking for complexity, is a way of, it's just going to hang around a lot longer. In terms of why I point people, is like, okay, what is the simplest way out of this? What is the simplest way forward? Because they're both. People talk about positive and negative feedback. It's like they're actually, in the true sense, they're actually quite different. It's not a judgment. A positive feedback loop is when something builds upon, one action builds upon the next one. And so if you point yourself in the direction of going to town, digging into problems, looking for complexity, all you're going to do is compound it and you'll find ever more complexity. Whereas if you point yourself in the direction, it's the same positive thing, because the one action builds upon the next action. That if you point yourself in the direction of simplicity and, as it were, the next thing moving forward, the brain works the same way, the mind works the same way. You point it in that direction, it's going to build upon it. If you point it in the other direction, it's going to build on that, because mind is neutral. It doesn't care. You point it whichever direction that you point it, it'll go. And we're so clever that we think of something and bang, the evidence pops up to demonstrate it. We don't realize that we're the creator of the evidence, because you wouldn't want to make a liar out of yourself, would you? It's the evidence. You can create the evidence to justify, demonstrate whatever. We are creative beings. We can do that. So at least point it in a useful direction.
I had a question on the tip of my tongue then. I wanted to ask you that I'll start off by saying the difference. What do you see the difference between the brain and the mind, basically? I try and articulate what I'm seeing at the moment. It will come to me in a bit, but just starting off, how would you see the difference? Because we were talking about it the other day, and you said, some people talk about the mind as the brain, but another thing, I think it was Sid Banks said that the brain is biological, but the mind is spiritual. Did you want to talk a bit about that?
I'd go with that. To me, the brain is a biological functioning unit. That's it. End of. Mind is, to me, the fact that we exist. There is some kind of life force. So without mind, the life force, brain wouldn't exist. It would exist as a kind of bunch of tissue, but but it wouldn't actually function as a biological function unit because it would be dead. It would be nothing. So it's the life force, and I couldn't put it any more than that. But yeah, the brain to me is a biological functioning unit. So when people see things changing in the brain, that's a consequence of mind. You're just seeing the effects of it within a biological function unit because you can see it. And because we like to observe things, we like to look at what we can see. So we think, so that's what's going on. It's like, no, that's the consequence of what's going on. You're picking up the form. You're picking up the consequence of something. It's when people start to make cause-effect statements or cause-effects when they're talking actually just about correlation. I think a lot of people get confused around that. So if something is 20% more likely, 50%, 30%, that's a correlation. Whereas my interest is going towards the 100%. What works 100% of the time? What is really going on 100% of the time? I go towards that. So, for example, gravity. Would you get on a plane where the pilot came over the intercom at the start of the runway and said, "We're just starting the engines now. Just to let you know, these wings have got a 35% of chance of us actually taking off by the time we get to the end of the runway." You wouldn't do it. So why would he accept it elsewhere? To me, it's like my interest is like, is this what is more truth? Is this that would be towards 100%, not the 5%. It's just, that's a correlation. So I think people pick up correlations a lot because you can attach two things and create meaning out of it. They may or may not be connected.
Yeah, I'm still trying to think of that question, but it's gone now. I was on to something which...
Go and take a shower. Go and take a shower. It'll come back to you in the shower. That's my creative space.
I don't think it would work live, would it? Yeah, so what's on your mind right now, Anthony? Did you want to ask me anything?
Oh, came to mind. Did you want to share anything about the project you're working on?
Which one? What the...
The one we talked about.
What, the one you're helping me with, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can talk about that. Well, I was really inspired by what Anthony did with the long-term unemployed group that he worked with a while back, and I just wanted to take things to another level and start applying for funding and help people who have perhaps been struggling with anxiety and other issues for a while and have been unemployed long term, to create a program around that for these people. And yeah, that really inspired me. And we're applying for some funding by the end of the month. If I get round to if I actually start writing it, I've been procrastinating on it. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to. I guess my main point about kind of sharing this is, like Anthony said at the beginning, that he sees himself slightly different to other people see him because he's just doing stuff that he loves and doesn't think anything of it. And when I give him that introduction, he was like, "Well, that doesn't really fit, but thank you. It's really nice and all that." And I guess it's the same for a lot of people, but for me as well. You might see these hangouts online and other stuff that I'm doing and think that everything's perfect or whatever, but I still struggle at times and still get stuck a lot of the time and still feel like like the other day, I just felt like, why am I doing any of this stuff? Is it actually helping? And that's the power of thought again. Who knows where those thoughts come from? It was just out of nowhere, and I guess I don't take them seriously as I used to, because I would, sometimes I'd get in a real state and I'd actually react on that thinking, like I'd cancel something that I was doing because I didn't think it was good enough, or things like that. But now, it soon passes, and just invite anyone watching this, just to go and try something different. Reach out to someone. What I did a year ago when I first started looking in this direction of the three principles or innate health or whatever you want to call it, I just became curious about just talking to other people and finding out more, and that really opened up to other things. I hid away for so long that I didn't think I had anything to contribute, and I would just say be open to just making a new connection, talking to someone on Facebook, and having a chat, like me and Anthony did. Anthony contacted me after one of the hangouts, and then we've just been in touch, and things have happened off of there. Compared to before, I wouldn't, I'd be so worried about getting in touch with someone and not knowing what to say and feeling like I was wasting their time, that I didn't have that space to create anything out of that. Thanks for asking that, Anthony. I've got a question coming now. Okay. Okay, the question says, hold on one second, I'm just trying to see where the question starts. Okay, it starts off with a comment. Anthony sounded like he worked on the work program. I worked for DWP for a while. My question related to what you are talking about. brain and mind, context and disconnect from others' context, and self-limiting beliefs. So it's easy for people to cast judgment about what the long-term unemployed should be doing based on your lens of experience. What advice did Anthony have for the long-term unemployed? Did that make sense?
It was bits did. I worked on the Future Jobs Fund before the work program came out. They changed the government, so they changed programs. But I think and it's not a criticism of unemployed people. I've been unemployed. It's very easy and just to get caught up. I've done that sometimes for years. Get stuck in stuff. I think programs like the work program could work really well. The thing that so for example, if somebody needs some help, it's good that the help is available. But the thing is, you need to know whether it's going to be useful to you. So an understanding of how we create our experience, so it doesn't come from our circumstance, it doesn't come from our families, it doesn't come from our backgrounds, it doesn't come from being born at an early age, it doesn't come from any of that kind of stuff. Because if that was true, we'd all have exactly the same experience. Everybody who came from a difficult background would, if it was 100% true, would go on to whatever you predicted. Yeah, I was kind of chronically shy as a child, probably not now, but you can't really predict from that. So it's not the shyness, it's not the anxiety, it's not the thing that's going on, it's not the circumstances going on around you that creates your experience, it's you creating. Now the thing is, once you somebody starts to understand that they are not the victim of things going on around them, they're the creator of their experience of that, it kind of shifts your responsibility. Because if you think I've got to change my environment, my background, my qualifications, if you think it's all of that kind of stuff, that's a long list of things to sort out. It's overwhelming. Whereas if you go, okay, so it's my experience, so I'm creating it. Okay, so that means I'm responsible for it, not for the circumstances going on. Not saying that. But I'm responsible for it. Oh, that means I could do something about it. So once you kind of have that shift, oh, wow, so it's not all that stuff that's going around me isn't a predictor of my future. Oh, okay, because that's what everybody tells it is. And it's like, oh, it's me. Okay, I can do something about it. And from that point of I can do something about it, having a whole a raft of employment assistance is brilliant. If there was a one-pointed leverage to make the results transformational in that area, that would be it. So rather than forcing people onto courses and programs to say, if you do not do this, we'll lose it, it's like it's the liberation of, well, it's me. I'm in the driving seat now. So you can have all manner of help and support available. If somebody's not of the mind that, oh, okay, I've got to do that, or it's my circumstance, but what's the point of it? You can have the most exquisite, beautiful program, but you will not get the results out of it. Whereas if somebody's of the mind that okay, I can do something about this, having that raft of help available is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Because then people are in the mindset to go, I will avail myself of that. I will sign up for my CV writing course. I will sign up for a job club. I will sign up to do this. I will sort out, I will go to night school. I will sort out my childcare. I will sort out this kind of thing. Oh, because it's me in the driving seat now. So all help and manner of help that's available there is brilliant. It's the greatest point of leverage.
Did that answer your question? Did you want to Did you want to reply to what Anthony said? I think he might be typing something now, but we'll just carry on and see if it pops up.
I was going to say if he wants to have a conversation offline, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay.
If he gets in touch with me either Facebook or emails me at anthony@headstuff.eu, we'll connect and have a conversation. I'd love to hear what he has to say.
Thanks, Anthony. Yeah, I got a comment. Yes, I feel that I can be harder on myself as I think that I'm in the driving seat. Just typing something else. Okay. I'm just aware of the time, actually. We've gone over. Just seeing if anyone wanted to post any more questions. How long do you have, Anthony?
I'll do another 15 minutes if you want. I don't mind.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? No, there's no other questions coming in. But,
That's okay.
It feels like it might be coming to a natural end now, unless you had anything else on your mind you wanted to share, Anthony.
No, other than if anybody wants to, if anybody's got anything they want to ask me, ping me an email, anthony@headstuff.eu. The other thing that comes to mind is I've got a workshop at the end of next month out here, so on winning proposals. Again, on my website, headstuff.eu.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure, mate. I appreciate you coming on and.
Oh, thank you for the invitation and for your kind words at the start.
I meant it. It was
Yes.
I'm so glad we met, and it's really great to know you. Yeah, I just wanted to. Sorry, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, let's finish off that kick-ass proposal of yours.
Well, I need to start it first, don't I?
It's already there. You just need to write it down.
Okay.
It's often the case, but people have that they have ideas, but actually the process of writing it down starts to crystallize it. It's and delaying it. It's easy to just churn stuff over and over and over and over again. I'm a genius at it, but it's when I start to either do it or write it down, then it becomes much clearer.
Yeah, there really is something about that, isn't there? It's just I experience that all the time, as a lot of people do. Just thinking so much about how hard something is going to be that you don't do it. But
Well, it's people exclude themselves out. So it's like, well, I'm not applying for that job because I won't get it. So you don't apply. Well, yeah, instantly you haven't got it. But there's a bunch of people with, because like you wanted to help people out, which is why you set up these series of talks and conversations. There's a bunch of people out there with problems. So if there's a thing, it's like, okay, you had the same a problem, you resolved it. There are other people with problems. So if you kind of in the business world, it's like go and see people with problems. And we tend to, and I see a bunch of people doing trainings with the view to doing something at the end of the training. What I call the deferred readiness model. It's like, I'll be ready when I've done this training. I'll be ready when I've read this book. I'll be ready when I've done this. It's like, once you start doing it, you can come up with much better questions because you actually have experience. We try to understand something before we've discovered, and it doesn't work that way round. We only understand something after we've discovered. So when I went in, was asked to set up a company, oh God, the first time 15, 18, 20 years ago, was it? Got it that long ago. I kind of no experience of business, but that wasn't why they appointed me to the role, because of my other expertise. So I kind of got the feel of like, well, this is business. This is what I need to know. So when it came to looking for a program or training that would help me with that, I was much clearer on exactly what I wanted. So in my case, I signed up for an MBA with a particular school that fitted with the Open University, which fitted part-time, so I could work and learn part-time at the same. It was brilliant. And I've done other stuff. I was in countryside management, but I kind of felt I was into that. I thought, now I know what training would be really helpful for me right now, because I could ask better questions. I could find out I recognize where the gaps in my understanding were. But we have a big tendency to want to understand something before we've discovered it. It's like the ski world. It's like, so how does that work? And it's like, you can't, unless you start to experience skiing, you don't have the experience to talk about it. Until you start doing your Google Hangouts, you don't have the experience to do it. So you could sit and think and do trainings, but until you start to do it live and get the experience, you get really good. It's like a quantum accelerator. So we often talk about doing stuff and getting around to stuff, and I'll be ready when all this happens and so forth. It's like, just start. Then you'll know, like I said earlier, it's like we're trying to do the predetermined strategy, the direct strategy. We think if we do this, all our ducks will line up, then it's okay to go. It's like, doesn't work like that. It emerges from taking the first step. And then kind of as you get into the flow of things, your mind will clear. You will automatically, we kind of want to do stuff to get into a kind of flow state or in a clear mind. It's like, no, that's what happens when we fall back into it when there's nothing else going on. When the system is uncluttered, it's our natural status. We just fall back into that. There isn't a doing to that.
Yeah, that's so simple what you've said, but it just reminds me of I don't know, just when I was really stuck with things, like things didn't change straight away because I didn't know how things could improve, but I did something. I guess I sometimes reflect and look at how things could have been different if I didn't take those little steps.
Hmm.
And it can feel like creating change in yourself or your life or whatever can feel a lot bigger than, or a lot more difficult than it actually is. I guess going back to skiing again, I went on a stag do with one of my best friends to Manchester to an indoor ski slope, and I didn't even think about attempting going on the slope because I just imagined it to be a lot more difficult than it was. And half of us didn't do that because we'd never been before, and it's all the same, isn't it? We don't do things that seem a lot bigger than they are.
Yeah.
And they're not going to get any smaller. Well, it's all created through our perception anyway, but like I was saying earlier about being open to open, because you never know what's around the corner. I like to say to people that if you're open to meeting other people and you don't know what will come through those other conversations, like me and you have met serendipitously as people do in life, and then we just got chatting, and you're supporting me on this funding, and I could have I was going to be rude then and said I could, if I was in, say it was a couple of years ago, I could have not replied. I wouldn't have said F off. That was what I was thinking. I just had to say that, but I wouldn't have said that. I could have ignored that conversation because I was so stressed and feeling sorry for myself. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah.
I was open to that, and I was just open to a conversation, even though I didn't know where it was going to go. And that, sorry, there's a moth there. And that's open to, like I said, starting this project that we're working on, and that's, well, if it takes off as we hope, and then it's going to help other people. And I never thought that would happen in that way. So just give it a go. Go and do something. We can't tell you the exact thing to do, but just like you've been saying all along, Anthony, just do what you enjoy. And what I do, when I take the most action, it seems like it feels effortless, and it's something that inspires me and what I want to do. And you were doing that when you were helping the people back to work, weren't you? Getting them to choose what they wanted to do, rather than you have to go in to take any job that comes up, kind of thing, and then them just being uninspired in the job, and that's not really helping, is it? They're statistically they're back in work, but unhappy back in work. But you did it the opposite way. You got them to follow what they love, and then then they can learn a lot more effectively.
Yeah.
Mm. I think it'll be a good time to end now. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too.
I just wanted to say thank you to the people watching, and thank you for staying on half an hour extra as well. I know you might have other stuff to do, so we both appreciate that.
Fine. This is the most important thing for me to do.
All
Well,
right. Well,
thank you very much.
you're welcome. It's been great. So thanks for watching again, guys. I will see you again same time next week, and we'll let you know who we have on. Um, just been in touch with a couple of people, so you will know in the next couple of days who's going to be on next week. Okay, thank you. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.